Hey, One Piece fans, this is Chris Bolts coming in with an episode recap and review of episode 1133, To Save His Daughter, Kuma the Timid Pacifist. But before I do get into the content, please make sure you do like, share, subscribe, turn on those post notifications, and if you watch this video all the way to the end, I really appreciate your support. All that really helps me out. Now, this is a pretty relatively short episode, and I say short episode because not a lot has happened or anything like that. In fact, everything can be summed up in pretty much three types of incidents that happened in this episode. The first one here is at the beginning of the episode where Kuma is rushing into the village to save people who are pretty much being burned alive by their own king, the evil, vile Bakordi, and Kuma's nature does not allow him to let anyone suffer any type of tragedy. That's why it makes him the perfect pastor in this particular series, because he's such a good-natured man. So he's running back into the burning village to save what appears to be that little girl that I just showed earlier, her mother. And here's the king. King is looking out over his nefarious work of trying to burn those people alive and to cull the deplorables, if you will, the unwanted people from this mortal coil, because he said he alluded to a kingdom that they did the same thing over in the East Blue Sea, and I think he's making reference to what happened to the God Valley episode. The God Valley incident where the celestial dragons just went in there and just overtook an entire kingdom and used them for cannon fodder for their sick, nefarious games. And here you have a bunch of protesters that are protesting King Bakori's actions. They're sitting at the gate, but the king, being who he is, orders his guards to shoot 4 or 5 of them. It's for the greater good. And you see that smug, dismissive look on his face as his soldiers go about doing such a thing. But of course, there's Kuma in the background, and you see he's just pissed off and angry. And the reason he's pissed off and angry is because he wasn't able to save that woman from being killed or from dying from his the King Bakori's actions. And there's Bonnie inside, watching from the outside, or watching from the inside of the church. She can't be outside under any type of natural light, and her daddy hasn't been too truthful with her or anything like that, because she thinks her daddy is a timid soul, wouldn't hurt a fly or anything like that. But Kuma is one of the most fiercest warriors, and you can see the surprised look on this disgusting king's face. I got rid of the garbage. No, you did it, because there's a piece of garbage that's standing right in front of you. And here's that scene right there where when he said that, there's Kuma holding the mother of that little girl that he wasn't able to save. And you see right there, and he used all of his might to basically dethrone this piece of shit dictator. And the dictator calls him, "You country bumpkin bastard," or pastor. I was gonna say bastard, but I guess he is. I guess Kuma is kind of a bastard, because his parents are no longer with him. They were taken away from him. And of course, this incident would become known as the Solo Revolution, where one man stood against an entire kingdom, dethroned a piece of shit king, and took the title. He didn't want to take the title or anything like that, but it was foisted upon him. This is what happens when power, sometimes there's one of two ways men can get power. They can either take it or it's foisted upon them. And in this particular case, it was foisted upon Kuma, and he wields it reluctantly. It's to the surprise of our good friend here, Saturn, that who would actually go in there and take it over. And there's Kuma right there standing above everyone. Now, he doesn't rule from the throne or anything like that. He rules from his humble church. This is where we actually see Jenny transform for the first time. I just made the mistake. I called her Jenny. This is when Bonnie transformed for the first time to an adult girl, to an adult woman. Everybody did think it was Jenny for a moment there, including especially Kuma, she pops back down to being a little girl. She doesn't know how she did it either. And so everyone's wondering, when did she actually eat the age fruit? As one of the scholarly, elderly people there is looking at the book, Bonnie's wondering what's going on. So is everybody else. And this is where this old guy and his mother, Connie, comes in and says that they will go ahead and watch over Bonnie while Kuma goes around looking for a cure. But before he goes out and starts looking for the cure, the old king right here, Bulldog, and his mother tell Kuma that, hey, you got big eyes on you. It's known that you actually went in there and dethroned the prior king, and so that puts the entire country of Sorbet Kingdom at risk. Bokori, this is pretty much a lesson. If you're gonna take out a king, you best not miss, and you best don't be charitable. And because all of this is starting to come back to bite Kuma in the ass. You got it, as the old King Bulldog says right here. He has the world government on his side, and they're going to use that power to go after you. And so just fast forwarding a little bit here, this is where Kuma finally hugs his daughter, says he has to go on that adventure. Here's the king, and this is where we catch up to the old king. The old king has 3 giant navy ships with him. He's telling them he's the king of Sorbet Kingdom. But once again, Kuma stands against them and sinks all 3 navy ships, and Kuma now becomes known as a pirate. But of course, let's just go back just a little bit here. What had happened here is that when the Bulldog and his mother Connie came to visit Kuma, they told a different story. They told the old king, along with the world government, had passed a propaganda piece in that newspaper calling Kuma a tyrant, that he actually single-handedly destroyed the kingdom and also dethroned the King Bokori, which we all know wasn't true or anything, but that doesn't matter, because when the government puts out a lie, it's hard to get it undone, especially when it gets spread by a friendly outlet like the newspaper. And so that's pretty much what happened right there. But so Kuma had no choice but to run. He also destroyed those ships, those navy ships, so that they wouldn't go in there and attack the village or anything. And so he goes on a multi-year quest to go ahead and find that cure for Bonnie. And here we see that he met back up with the revolutionaries, met back up with Betty and Monkey D. Dragon. And Kuma tells him that he's a totally different person. This is where Monkey D. Dragon tells Kuma that that now he's known as a king, as a pirate, and as a tyrant. And he also lets him know that 2 of his comrades, Ivankanov and Inazuma, were imprisoned. And Betty right here asks, she wants to become captain of the Eastern Forces, but Monkey D. Dragon kept that position open until Kuma gave the blessing for it. And of course, Kuma says, hey, you're a woman, you can have it. And Betty's all happy. But this is where he gets some good news from Monkey D. Dragon. Monkey D. Dragon tells him, hey, the Dr. Vegapunk, the Navy scientist, is available, and you can go visit him because he knows a thing or two about sapphire scale. And that's where, for the first time, Kuma feels hope, and he takes Bonnie with her on that journey to go visit Dr. Vegapunk at the Navy Science Group Laboratory 8. And Bonnie, being an honest little girl, looks at Vegapunk and says, oh my goodness, look at his head. But Dr. Vegapunk's like, nah, I don't care. You're a sassy little girl, but I like it. This is where we finally start to talk about Dr. Vegapunk is starting to talk to Kuma about what his dream is. He wanted to create a clone program whereby soldiers would be used to protect the populace. Once he finds out that Kuma is a buccaneer, he says, hey, let's make a proposition here. I need someone that's a really good specimen for my clone army, and you need your daughter saved. Why don't you go ahead and let me use a drop of your blood so we can go ahead and do that? But of course, Kuma, being the type of guy he is, he's like, you know what? I don't care. I just want someone to be able to save my daughter, and I'll do anything that it takes to save her. And of course, he agrees to that. He agrees to that with Dr. Vegapunk, and Dr. Vegapunk says, or you see right here where Kuma says, I wouldn't have cared if you were a devil. And all he cares about is just saving his daughter. Just say, please save Bonnie. And this is where Dr. Vegapunk calls him a saint. Saturn has a different idea about what he can use those clone soldiers for. Finally getting the beginnings of the pacifistas, and just going back to what Dr. Vegapunk said about Kuma being a saint. Kuma says, no, I'm no saint. I'm just a timid pacifist. And that's where we get the name of the pacifistas. That's what Dr. Vegapunk said he's going to get them a call. It's kind of funny, the irony that has just been set up right here, where we have two old hands, Dr. Vegapunk and Saint Saturn, looking at how different ways to use these clone soldiers. The irony and the juxtaposition of the name, you're calling these soldiers pacifistas. I really like that type of storytelling by Eiichiro Oda. Just those little tidbits, those little details, really sits there and just puts, just really explores and expands the lore of One Piece. And as I was sitting on the couch, I was thinking, I said, is there really a good person inside of One Piece? And I think a lot of people would automatically gravitate towards Luffy. Now, I don't think Luffy's really a good person. I think Luffy does whatever he wants without consequence. I don't think that necessarily makes him a good person or anything. I think the one true good person that is in all of One Piece is this guy right here, Kuma. Kuma has the biggest heart. He will do anything for anyone. He really tries to do what's right, even if it ends up harming him or may lead to some really bad consequences, namely the pacifistas becoming the weapons that's going to be used by the Navy to effectively terrorize the populace as opposed to protecting them. And of course, this all leads up to another recap, because hey, we all like recaps, right? So next week's episode is a recap. Pretty much won't do anything next week. I'll probably do something completely different for One Piece. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why Toei and just can't finish the story. Why Eiichiro Oda just can't finish the story. But I digress. Once again, this is another episode where a lot of lore building and character development happened, but nothing else. So once again, I give it about a 7.5 out of 10. Definitely, you do need to get it if you want to get more of the backstory of Kuma and Bonnie. But if you didn't watch it, you wouldn't miss a whole lot. So those are my thoughts on the episode. What are your guys' thoughts on the episode? What did you guys think about this episode? Jump down in the comments and let me know. And what's your opinion about One Piece consistently doing these recap episodes? And this one is coming about not even a month after the last recap episode. Jump down in the comments and let me know what you guys think. And make sure you guys do like, share, subscribe, turn on the post notification. All that stuff helps me out. And remember, this is Chris Bolt signing off, and I will catch you guys in the next video. You take it easy.